England versus India. The Cricket Badger Test Match Daily Podcast. Can Joe Root's England dominate on home soil? 5 mouth-watering test matches. Can Virat Kohli's India conquer the final frontier? Loving to talk test cricket every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome along. It is another edition of the Cricket Badger podcast. England against India Test Match Daily. And we've just seen the end of day 3 at Headingley, with India fighting back a little bit. I am joined, as always, by my fan badgers. There they are. It's Neil Varani, Rito Maitra, and Naman Shah. Naman is in some kind of sordid den of iniquity, I think, there. I don't know where you are, Naman, but we'll come to you in just a second. Let's start with you, Neil. India 70. I mean, we've missed 3 days because I've been doing tennis commentary. So we've got a bit to talk about today. Let's start with India's 78 all out. I said ahead of the test match, I've seen a lot of test match cricket at Headingley. I know the way that pitch operates, and I know that on day 1, it looks like a good batting track, but that is the best day to bowl. Now, you've still got to get it in the right place, Neil, and you've still got to try as a batting side to avoid getting the edges. And England got it in the right place. India got the edges.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds appalling, and parts of it were, but it wasn't the complete horror show that it's been made out to be by a lot of people from an Indian point of view. Because certainly, I think the first 4 wickets in the first session, they were the result of some absolutely excellent bowling, including the setups from Jimmy, where he just seemed to be bowling in-swinger after in-swinger, and then there'd be an out-swinger that moved away a little, but people didn't feel they could leave because they were expecting the in-swinger. There was more swing than there's been all series. There was more seam than there's been all series. And we've got a guy who, even at the age of 39, is a master of extracting anything that's out there, and will take out the best. I think it was after lunch that I think Rohit's shot was poor. I think Rishabh's shot was poor. And 4 tail-enders played like tail-enders.
I really like the way, Neil, that you've decorated your house with the Cricket Badger logo just above your left shoulder. Naman, I saw the lights go out on you and you've moved again. But we had a little conversation on Twitter after the England 78 all out. You were a little bit more critical of the Indian batsman than I was. I was going down the route that Neil just went down a little bit, that England, I mean, Jimmy Anderson is a superb exponent at angling the ball in, angling the ball in, angling the ball in, angling the ball in. Whoops, he takes one away and you suck it into the edge. And I think India got caught out a little bit with that. I don't think it was necessarily horrendous batting.
I would say still that it was a horrendous batting. Not all the players were being set up. There were poor shots. You will see Rahul and also Kohli. The pattern, if you will see, for all these batsmen is the same in all the test matches. So I was a bit disappointed. Yes, you can say that for Pujara or also for Rahane, but overall, I would still say those were poor shots. Maybe 100 runs more from there could have been fine, because the way ball was doing much more in the first innings. But overall, it is a just brilliant comeback by the Indians today. It was not expected, but also it's hard to recover from getting all out on 78 and just coming up with this performance. So good to see Kohli and Pujara back in form. But yes, overall kudos to the bowlers as well. They did a splendid job in the first innings.
Give us a bit of a 360 now and show us where you are.
I am in my lawn itself, in the apartment. There are too many guests at my place, so it would be a lot of noise. So I'm downstairs and they just shut off the lights.
Oh, so you're having a party. We understand now. Rito, that's 78. I mean, you're one of our England fan badges, despite your location in India. And that 78 all out, it is a terrific day to bowl. Sometimes the first day it was a good test match tossed for Joe Root to lose, I think, because you could see Virat Kohli's eyes light up. He saw a good batting track, which it is, and he thought, "Oh, there's some runs in here for my Indian side and maybe myself." Joe Root, you could tell when he went across for his interview post toss, big cheeky grin. He wasn't that bothered that he lost that toss.
Yeah, absolutely, James. I think Joe would have had a bowl first, but Virat having won the toss, he had to bat first. On that pitch, as a tourist, you say you will have a bat first. But Joe, being the local guy in Leeds, he knew how exactly the conditions could play. Yes, there was a bit of cloud cover on the first day, and the England seamers, they were impeccable in the lines. Not one of them let the team down, and that was really a true team performance.
I mean, let's scroll on a couple of days from that first day. 78 all out, followed by England's 432. Now, for England to get 432, Rita, we don't talk about that very often, do we? But again, it's that man, 6th century of 2021. Joe Root was just absolutely brilliant again.
Yeah, he doesn't want 2021 to end, James. Hopefully, he carries on this form in Down Under as well. Although this is a very important series going on right now against India, which England haven't won a single game of the series yet, and India have made a very good comeback today. But still, I would say England are in the pole position to win the game.
Neil, as I say, I've seen a lot of test matches at Headingley, seen a lot of county matches at Headingley, and often the Headingley surface doesn't really deteriorate. It kind of just ends up being flat. And I've seen quite a few county games played out at Headingley where on the final day, when you're expecting a team to finish the match off with wickets, a team just bats out. And it's, relatively, we saw Ben Stokes 2 years ago. That innings that Stokes played was miraculous, but it wouldn't have been possible on a track that was doing all kinds of stuff. I think India have got every chance of saving this test match.
At the moment, it's job half done. Done absolutely brilliantly to get through the best part of 3 sessions with 2 wickets down. I think we need to bat a minimum of 3 more, possibly up until lunch on day 5, to really make it a contest. Because I said on the group, it's a very Kiwi track. There's a lot for the bowlers on the first day, and then it's just flattened out and died. There are a few footmarks coming through. We saw Jadeja, Ragsum. We saw Root and Moeen get some turn as well. But I don't see much apart from mental fatigue and scoreboard pressure bringing wickets at the moment. And I think both England have been very good without reward for the most part, apart from Sam Curran, who I thought was loose and released the pressure a bit. I thought everyone else really kept their task very well today.
I was going to say that. I mean, on day 1, all of the edges went to hands, all of the edges went to the edge. Today, there was a lot of beating the bat. There was a little bit of luck involved in some of those Indian innings, but they ground it out, and that's what you have to do in Test match cricket. When it's your day and it's missing the edge, like Pujara has done, you go on and make it count.
Yeah, absolutely. I said the batting wasn't a complete disaster on the first day. I thought the bowling was, and that is going to end up being the difference in the game if India don't manage to get a draw or a win out of this.
Are you still including the potential for India to win this?
I'm old enough to remember Dravid and Lakshman. We've got out of worse spots on the
139 runs behind. Yeah, 139 runs behind. So I mean, if they were to bat all day tomorrow, even if it's cautiously, by the end of the day, say they score 250 runs tomorrow, they could be 130 runs ahead by close of play if they bat through cautiously. That does give them the opportunity to maybe use that first morning on day 5 to launch something and leave them 2 sessions to bowl England out.
Yep, and that's where we're going to see if that happens, which is a very big if. We need the pitch to continue to stay as flat as it is. Then England have got very recent scars of losing wickets.
Let's give
in
them
a very short
60
amount of
overs
time.
of hell. That's what they're going to say, isn't it? 60 overs of hell. Yeah. Naman, can you foresee that scenario panning out, that England maybe could face 2 tough sessions on day 5, and Virat Kohli's doing one of those team talks again where he's telling them to unleash hell on the English batsmen?
To be honest, I'm not thinking too far right now. What is concerning me is just the lead England is having right now. After that, whatever planning will be done depends on how many wickets are down and if Pant and Jadeja are in play too. So right now, the first priority would be to finish off the lead and just see how it goes after then. And you never know with Pant and Jadeja, they can just take the place of Gilchrist and just go bang bang, and you and India will be on a heavy score by tomorrow night. So yes, all three results are possible, but I was a bit disappointed not after seeing India score today. But I felt that England score a bit 100 less. Very disappointed with the white ball stalwarts. Bairstow, Butler, and Moeen Ali, they couldn't have got a better pitch to score on than this one. So one of them at least could have got going and scored a huge one. So yes, but other than that, overall the match is heading towards a good fight.
Cheteshwar Pujara, Naman, he's been under pressure. A lot of discussion about his place in that side, because he's not a glamour puss, is he? He doesn't excite people. He's more dour with the way he bats. But that took a lot of character today from him, didn't it, to score that 91 not out? And hopefully, from India's perspective, he can continue that tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely brilliant, and the pace at which he was getting scoring runs, it was just brilliant to watch out. But overall, I feel that the middle order loves challenges, and they were looking for this opportunity, and they are grabbing it with both hands, especially Kohli. So good to see them with the runs, and yes, maybe Pujara. I want to get him going. I was just thinking maybe he had a chat with MSD before the CSK matches, and MSD would have advised him to score if he wants to feature in the first match against Mumbai Indians. So overall, fantastic innings, and he's just brilliant against spinners. And the shots he was playing today was just flawless, vintage Pujara.
On your Instagram, Naman, I see you dancing a lot. Are you dancing this evening? Is that the plan?
Oh, for sure, I'll do that.
I have no doubt about it. I was just about to ask Rito a question, and he's very rudely dropped off the conversation. So I'll go back to Neil. I mean, we talk a lot about Jos Buttler, Neil, and
to say the least.
I'm kind of getting to the situation now where I mean, he's obviously said it's a possibility he might not tour Australia. It might actually not be in his hands by the time we get to the summer. By the end of the summer, because he's not scoring any runs, and he's not looking like scoring any runs at the moment.
To be honest, I think throughout his Test career, the default setting is not scoring runs, which, I'll absolutely grant that. The backs to the wall, sweeping everything that Yasir Shah threw up against Pakistan. A very good 100 against India at Trent Bridge in 2018. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. And he's batting at 6. He's coming in with, NASA talking him up as this great player who can just adjust straight away. And clearly he deserves, another 50 tests to fulfill his potential to be Adam Gilchrist. That's all you hear.
I think you're putting slight words in NASA's mouth there.
Oh, I don't know. He claimed.
He does get built up as being somebody that's going to come in and take it away from the opposition. He's going to come out and blast a quick sort of 80, and they kind of bill him as that as he walks in. And like you say, nobody expects anybody to do that in every innings they play. But surely with Jos Buttler's talent, and I know we get a little bit confused with his white ball talent as opposed to his red ball talent, and that sort of queries the pitch a little bit. But he doesn't do it very often at all, does he?
No, and he lacks clarity in how to play himself. I don't think with England's batting lineup the way it has been since 2013. He hasn't had that freedom to go out and play that free role and counter attack properly.
Naman's shaking his head. Naman is shaking his head ferociously.
Rishabh gets that opportunity because generally, and especially in India, he doesn't come in until we've already got 300 runs on the board. Half the time, Josh Butler comes in at about 150, and they're 4 or 5 down already. And I don't think he trusts his defence.
But that was the thing that with this Test match, he actually had the platform, he had the launch pad this time, didn't he? To come out and I'm not suggesting he hits sixes every ball, but he can come out and maybe just score a quick 50 or something. Naman, I'm going to come to you because you were shaking your head there. What part of what Neil and I were saying were you not agreeing with?
Yeah, not at all. And this is the reason why I'm not a huge fan of averages, because you just can't keep a player keep playing and all the test matches because his just averages 30 and 34. He is Josh Butler and he's not in the test matches to be on that average. I'm sure like the Fox and James Bracey would average that much if they are given chance to at least play 10 to 12 matches. He's Josh Butler because he is a huge dynamite and he is in the squad to do something different. And 50 test matches for God's sake, and we just cannot give excuses like this in every test matches and give him a go again and again. And he has travelled all, not only in England, away from home as well. In Sri Lanka, he was in India, and like how many, I feel for other wicket keepers, and for sure, like one England board should be even Root should be just straightforward with Butler and look at his priority, whether he really wants to make a career in red ball cricket, because just like how we as an audience connect with him in white ball cricket, we are somewhere not able to connect with him in red ball cricket. He's just not that Josh Butler. Like 50 test matches are too much, and I believe that England has too many talents and 18 county teams, so obviously there are too many other wicket keepers who deserve a chance.
So you were
shaking. We agree with you.
you were shaking your head, Nam, in agreement rather than in disapproval, I guess. Rita, what about you? I mean, from an England's perspective on this, he's undoubtedly an amazing player. He's undoubtedly a very, very fine cricketer. But there's nothing from his first-class record. There's nothing from the test matches. I mean, a couple of centuries in 52 test matches, 53 test matches, whatever it is now. There's nothing to suggest that he's got that other gear that people are billing him to have, Rito.
Yeah, James, even as an England fan, I'm just starting to lose patience with Josh Butler now. But he has played some series winning knocks in Test match cricket as well. That's why England just can't dispose of him. And he is, as we often refer to, he is a part of that leadership group that Joe Root likes to have on the field. Joe himself is a young guy, although he has captained England for a long time now, but still, in terms of age, he's a young guy, so he needs his friends around him, and that helps him to make the most of his batting as well, I think.
Well, Rita, I mean, I know Joe reasonably well. I've known him since he's a teenager. I worked at Yorkshire. I'd class him as a friend. Doesn't mean I'm going to get called up by England.
Well, at least Joe sees some potential in Josh Butler. And he has seen what he has done.
I've got the same name almost, Rito. Come on, let me in.
Maybe it was just a big mix-up, James. That's where you should be.
Yeah, they've called it the wrong Jay Butler. Here I am, Joe. Here I am. Rita, I mean, just getting away from Josh Butler, because I do feel like I'm constantly banging on about it, and it almost feels like bullying in a way, but it just frustrates me a little bit. There are, as Naman said, so there are other options out there. To me, Johnny Bairstow is a better, over a period, and there'll be a lot of people watching this will go, oh, God, here he goes again, Johnny Bairstow, blah, blah, blah. He shouldn't even be in the side. But for me, as an overall package, as a batsman stroke wicketkeeper, I think his keeping is actually slightly better than Josh Butler's. And I think over a period, his batting would be certainly no worse than Josh Butler's. I think as an overall package, Bairstow would be a better one. And you could put Bairstow at 7 and say, Johnny, here's the next 50 test matches. Enjoy the rest of your career with England.
Yeah, especially with Josh Butler missing that bye of Moeen Ali late in the day, has sprung up all these questions once again. But as I said, Josh Butler hasn't had many chances to just go out and play his natural game, James. England haven't been.
He's had 50 odd Test matches of chances
But
recently.
England haven't been in this kind of dominating position in all those 50 Test matches that he has played.
Well,
Maybe
let's compare him to
hardly in
Rishabh
4
Pant,
of them.
Rito. Let's compare him to Rishabh Pant, because Rishabh Pant does those counter-attacking knocks in adversity as well. He comes out for India when the platform is nowhere near there and scores a 50 and suddenly puts India into better position, or certainly gets them up to a score that's a little bit more respectable. Josh Butler doesn't really do that either. And I mean, let's move away from Josh Butler, because it's going to become the Josh Butler show again. But I want to go into Sam Curran now, because Sam Curran to me is Neil, somebody who I would always have in a squad. If I was picking a 16-man squad to go anywhere, Sam Curran would be in my squad as a utility kind of backup player. In the 11, though, I don't think he quite makes it. And I feel with Sam Curran that he has to either get better at batting or better at bowling, because at the moment he's not quite good enough at either.
He's basically Phil Neville.
Well, that would make Tom Gary, wouldn't it?
Well, no, Tom's even worse. Yeah, Sam Curran's a very, very weird one. Again, he has a lot of supporters because he makes things happen, apparently. But his batting isn't good enough on its own. His bowling is nowhere near good enough unless you give him very specific circumstances. He needs swinging conditions. Otherwise, he's cannon fodder. Clearly, he's someone that they see a future for, but that doesn't mean that he's ready right now.
He's obviously a very good player, Neil. He's got the basic attributes to be a very, very good player at county level. Now, he's got the attributes to be a very good player sometimes at international level, but then there are plenty of other occasions where he looks quite powered up off with his bowling, and he looks like put it this way, I've never seen him in a Test match play a long innings where he's actually ground it out, played defensively and nudged it around. He either plays that counter-attacking swashbuckling role, or he gets out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even at county level, he's never batted higher than 6. He's not scored a first-class century. I think that one-day match in India would have been his first century in his career if he'd made it from, I think it was 95 that he scored there. In Test matches, he's provided small, very exciting cameos, but then you've got Josh Butler to do small counter-attacking cameos. In this team, you've got Moeen Ali to do small counter-attacking cameos. Both of them are better batters than Sam Curran. He's in to provide a bit of everything, and at the moment, he's providing nothing. I
couldn't understand in this team. You've got Ollie Robinson, who can hold a bat, that's coming in at number 10. You don't need that extra batsman in there in terms of Sam Curran. You know, giving Saqib Mahmood would have been, to me, a far more positive kind of selection. Would have increased the tail by 1, taking it down to sort of 10 and 11 rather than 11. But giving you that option with the ball as well. No, man, have you seen? I mean, you'll have seen a little bit of Saqib Mahmood in one-day cricket for England, won't you? Have you seen anything more of him? What do you think of Saqib Mahmood as a potential England player in Test cricket?
Yeah, 100%. There's a good potential, and he was creating havoc when England was playing against Pakistan, and he's brilliant with the new ball. But overall, if you see the mindset of Silverwood, also the team which he has built in ODIs, they need a more bowling all-rounders as well who could bat as well. Maybe till number 10 or maybe 11 as well. So I feel that mindset has come up now in Test cricket also. But you have rightly mentioned over there. But I feel the selection of Sam Curran is more depending on what he had done in 2018. Because I guess he did not play against Sri Lanka, he did not play against India in India, he did not play against New Zealand, but he is back in the squad only for that impact he had created back in 2018, but sadly he has failed this time. So I feel Mahmood for Sam Curran is the correct option, because already there are too many batsmen, so you do not need to put too much pressure on that lower order and let them focus on their bowling rather than expecting them to bat as well.
Our friends on the Edges and Sledges podcast have said DK mentioned on commentary more mistakes made today in the first 30 overs than in the first innings. I guess that is by the England bowlers rather than the batsmen, or is it the batsmen? I'm not quite sure on that. And Claire's been in touch, our IPL fan badger. What a great test this is squaring up to be. Great fight back from India today. I think Claire's every day of this test match at Headingley, so hopefully you're enjoying yourself, Claire. And well, a bit colder today, probably a couple of jumpers on. Now, man, just going a final point on Joss Butler and Sam Curran before we move on. I often get it heard in the run up to a series against India that the Indians are actually a little bit scared of those two because they've seen them in the IPL. They've been scarred by Sam Curran in 2018. So therefore, they are absolutely cast iron selections because India are wary of them. Would you agree with that?
Not at all. At least looking at the performance and the form he is right now, I wouldn't go with Sam Curran for sure. And I never agreed with Josh Butler's selection, to be honest. I just couldn't connect him with the red ball cricket, so he is a strict no for me. And I feel the likes of Fox and Bracey, who has scored quite well in last 3 years in counties, deserve a good chance and allow Josh Butler to focus in white ball cricket and maybe come down in his final years if he's getting better. So during that time he could come in, because I just do not understand like how we can say that he has never got a chance, because the likes of Gilchrist and all these wicket keepers never waited for the chance. They created one and they just wrecked the opposition with their hitting, and opposition was always surprised
I
because
think
you create.
that is an excellent point, Naman. That the very good players, they don't need it to be laid on a plate for them. They make their own destiny by changing the game themselves, don't they? And yeah, I think that's an absolutely excellent point. I mean, just one thing to finish with on Josh Butler. Again, there's no doubt he's a terrific player, and I think there is a huge future for him in international cricket because he'll be the replacement for Owen Morgan. He's going to take over the white ball teams. He'll captain them, and he's one of the very best in the world at white ball cricket. So it's not like we're kind of slamming him as a person, as a player. There's a huge future. He's got plenty of cricket to play. Claire's been back in touch. She says, I certainly am enjoying the test match. 4 jumpers, gloves and a scarf on today at Headingley. I know DK, the aforementioned DK was commenting, telling Bumble that it was ridiculous that you call this summer in England. Get used to it. If you're going to stay around this country, you get used to these kind of days. Rito, back to this test match. I was a little bit surprised today at the end that England were kind of going to go to put their seamers back on and not get another couple of overs at India tonight. They opted to take the light effectively, didn't they? And said to the umpires they were going to put the fast bowlers back on, and the umpire said, "Well, if you bring the fast bowlers off, we're going off." I'd have thought in this kind of situation, right at the end, India aren't going to do a huge amount, and it's a chance to maybe even just get 1 wicket. If they've been a positive.
Yeah, maybe, but Joe Root, he has had enough. With the new ball due tomorrow morning, the first thing he is going to do is just unleash the seamers, and that's going to be a very, very vital moment in this game. How the Indians play that new ball and how England bowl with it. So the spinners, they were on for a bit of time before stumps. They were not effective. Joe Root himself and Moeen Ali. So I think Joe Root rightly took the option and said that's it for the day.
England, I mean, you used the word patience there, and that's going to be a big word for England, I think, over the remaining days of this test match, because you can't get too down on yourself. If you go a session without taking an Indian wicket, it doesn't mean that there's not a session around the corner where you take 4 or 5 and all of a sudden the test match is blown open again, Rita. You've just got to basically play spell by spell, almost 20 minutes by 20 minutes, and see where you are.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very vital morning session tomorrow because England are going to take the new ball first up. They know that for certain. And how's Pujara and Kohli going to play Jimmy Anderson and Ollie Robinson? Yeah, I know Pujara this time he's on 91 and Kohli also is in 40s, but still, new ball, Jimmy Anderson, a fresh day, new energy in that old body of his. It's going to be a tough challenge. And with Shami at 8, that's a long tail for India. So 140 run lead still for England. I would say England should wrap this up tomorrow.
Neil, back to Pujara. He's going to go to bed tonight with 91 not out to his name. That'll be a terrific kind of comeback century, won't it? If you can add another 9 tomorrow. I mean, obviously, from India's point of view, you want a lot more from him. But I'm just hoping that the Tannoy doesn't say, congratulations, Steve Pujara, rather than Cheteshwar Pujara. But terrific innings.
Yeah, I did hear that from someone on Twitter who's at the game that apparently there was an announcement on the Tannoy today asking spectators to ensure that they don't abuse people on the basis of their race, which was a little bit ironic considering everything else that's going on at the moment. I think that might have been why Joe took the lights and robbed us of seeing Dawid Malan with the new ball tonight, because Pujara was looking pretty fluent, and he is markedly better against spin than he is against seam, and he could have possibly got to a century tonight. He certainly wasn't just blocking everything regardless in the once the spin came on after the light reading got taken tonight. So that may have been why he took it early.
Do you think it's? I think it's a. It was an intentional thing from Pujara today to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, he's never going to be in both of them in 81, but he certainly played more shots than he today and was more fluent and went along at a higher strike rate. I think he looks better when he does that. I think when he's in recent times, because he knows he's not getting any runs, he's trying to be a little bit too careful, and he's ended up getting out. Whereas today he was a lot more positive.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things that went into that, and his approach overall was more positive. But England have had a plan of bowling straight to him and looking for the LB, and they've got edges in the last couple of games on the basis the ball's been moving a bit. They've been firing it in towards his leg stump. It's been hitting the ground and then nipping off towards off, and that's when he's been edging it. Today he got a couple of balls on his legs that he was able to whip away to the leg side, which is his preferred thing, because they weren't getting that movement off the pitch, and that increased his confidence, so that when the bad balls came, and a few of them did, he was prepared to go after the shots. A lot of the time, what we've seen with Pujara during his bad run is that he's gone even further into a shell and not been going at all. Today he was going over 50 early on, and I think he finished at just over 50 strike rate at the end of the day.
When you said that about going into his shell, I imagined a tortoise there with bringing his legs and arms in, and it's just the shell left, and he's just actually going nowhere. He's actually brought his limbs out properly today, hasn't he? And really start striding through this innings. A tortoise on speed. Now, man, the Indian fans, they amuse me, they charm me, they annoy me at times as well. Very, very vocal. When India are doing fantastically well, it's all, I mean, it's like your party. It's all going absolutely swimmingly. When the 78 all out happened in the first innings, it was a lot of people went completely quiet, and all of a sudden it was a horrendous Indian team again. It was, you Indian fans do lurch from one extreme to the other at times.
Yes, a lot. It was like first day all were drunk, second day was a bit hangover, and third day is like all are fresh and behind the players, and we are all back as Indians and backing our players. So yes, emotions fly a lot in India, particularly with stalwarts like Rohit and Kohli and everyone, and also they will give you back, just like KL mentioned. If you will go after one player, 11 will come after you. So same is with the Indian fans. And you know what happens with Daniel Alexander. He's a king on Twitter.
I get the impression that a lot of Indians, they follow with their heart and their heads second at times.
Yes, because yeah, sometimes it gets hard for the people to understand that failures are part of life because we like cricket is our religion. It is said over here, and you also know that. So we watch it with so much our emotions that we expect a lot from the players, and especially as I mentioned, Kohli and Rohit. But overall, I'm so happy that England is back into this game. To be honest, I would never have been happy with 4-0 result. I want England to win this and go into next test match with 1-all. And I also want India to fight, but I do not want a one-sided series or something like that. And Rohit is in his prime form and purple patch. He deserves a win too, and every other player should back him. And he has played brilliantly. So overall, I feel that 1-all result would be good to go into next test match. But India is fighting back, so you never know.
Rito, final point. I mean, off what Naman said there about Joe Root, scored a beautiful 180 not out at Lords, ended up on the losing side. If after scoring his second century at his home ground at Headingley, he doesn't end up with a Test match win from this one, he'll start to think, what on earth's going on with this? When he almost deserves a Test match win.
A lot of questions were asked of him and of his team after that afternoon he had at Lodge. So it would be a really nice feeling for him to finish with a win in Headingley. And speaking about Joe Root's form, the other two centuries that he had in Trentbridge and Lodge, they were a bit different. This time he had a score on the board when he came in, and he just looked so fluent, and he scored a century of 120. India just doesn't seem to have any plan B to him. They have bowled in the same areas in all three innings, and he has just made merry of all of them.
Reminds me very much of Steve Smith in those Ashes series a few years ago. It's just constant runs and runs and runs, isn't it? And he never looks like getting out. Very quickly, around the group, what is going to be the result of this Test match at Headingley over the next 2 days? Neil Varani.
My head says England win, but India are doing a job in actually gaining back some psychological advantage with some good batting this time, which will do well for the rest of the series.
Well, I'm very happy it's going into at least tomorrow because I've got commentary jobs on Saturday and Sunday. And if you don't get to those days, you don't get the work and you don't get paid for it. So at least I've got 1 day guaranteed now. Naman, what about you? What's the result of this Test match going to be?
To be honest, I'm totally blank right now. But with the way India is playing and how the pitch behaves on fourth and fifth day, I feel that England might be 100 short in the first innings. I found the loophole with those white ball players. I feel that advantage is India if they go through the first session tomorrow.
Honestly, no, man, you can never be happy. A lead of 300 plus is not enough on the first innings for Naman Shah. Rita, what about you? What's the result of this Test match going to be? Looks like Rito's frozen. He would have said England. He would have said England. Rito would. I know he would. He's frozen in a very peculiar kind of starry-eyed thing going on there on my screen. I'm going to go with the draw. I have to say, I think this pitch is going to get no worse to bat on. And I think if India bat anything like, they can get past England's total. And I think it's going to be too much of a good pitch for India to be able to force the result on it this time. I think we might go all the way through to the end of day 5 and see the draw. Rita, are you back?
Yeah, James.
What's your prediction then for this test?
Well, I thought England are going to wrap it up in 3 days, but still India have done well to drag it into the 4th day. Hopefully it's an England win tomorrow. I can't see a draw. It's either England win or an India win. There's far too much time left in this game.
I was right. I told you he was going to say India. Thank you, gentlemen. Neil, Naman and Rito, thank you very much for joining me on today's Cricket Badger podcast. We'll be back tomorrow after day number 4. I'll be back after day 5, if there is one. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of days at Headingley. What is absolutely cast iron true is that the Lord's Test, this test, all of these test matches, great for test cricket. It is a wonderful format of the game. Let's embrace it. Let's invest in it. Let's enjoy it as we go through the rest of this English summer. I've been James, the Cricket Badger. I will see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the cricket, everybody. and we will be right back. And you can buy these mugs as well. I've got product placement as well. Buy these mugs.